2014. McCarrick was the Holy See's unofficial envoy to China. He was beginning the negotiation, which perhaps has culminated in the very controversial deal that the Catholic Church has made with the Chinese Communist Party, where they essentially have a role in choosing Catholic bishops in China. McCarrick's own letters, which have been released by his personal secretary, prove that he was in frequent touch. He was in frequent touch with Cardinal Parolin about. Sorry, do you want me to pause? Is everybody okay? Okay. McCarrick's own letters show that he was in frequent touch with Cardinal Parolin, reporting his contacts and his activities in China. Now, Cardinal Parolin says, I had heard rumors, but I didn't know anything definite. This is similar to what Pope Francis himself has says. It does not seem plausible that he knew nothing about the allegations against McCarrick. There was a brimming file at the Holy See to which he had access, and you only had to Google McCarrick to see. Anyone with an internet connection knew that there had been allegations that he had sexually abused seminarians at that point. For Cardinal Parolin to not have had the even curiosity to investigate is culpable and also questionable in his credibility. And finally, we want to raise a concern about the international treaties that Cardinal Parolin has maintained with other governments, called concordats. And not every government has them, but essentially these are instruments of cover-up. They all vary country to country, but just recently, for instance, in the last few months, I believe, or maybe in the last year, if El Pais is here, they can correct me. The Holy See has negotiated a deal with the Bolivian government, a treaty, where the bishops can essentially withhold documents. And these international treaties, which they transcend local law, are instruments of suppressing information. And so if Cardinal Parolin becomes Pope, we will have a consummate secret keeper running the Catholic Church. And I think any hope of transparency around sex abuse will be dashed completely. At this point, I want to shift to Cardinal Tagle. Cardinal Tagle is by far the most influential bishop to emerge on the global stage from the Philippines. He is a gentle man who weeps when he talks about victims, but Bishop Accountability was recently in the Philippines. We went there to Manila to launch a database of publicly accused Philippine clergy. What we found there dismayed us. This is a church where victims are so scared and so without rights that only one victim has ever identified himself publicly by name. And I am honored to say Michael Gachalian is with us today, and you will hear from him. This is a church so in the dark ages when it comes to abuse that the Archdiocese of Manila, Cardinal Tagle's own archdiocese, former archdiocese, and the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines have not yet published abuse guidelines. We managed to get hold of the latest version, which is 2016, not even updated, but it is nowhere to be found on those big websites. If Cardinal Tagle cannot even get his brother bishops from his home country to publish guidelines, what on earth can we expect him to achieve as Pope of a global church? Anne and Michael and Father Shea are going to say more about that. I think I will shift to them now, and I'd like to start with. And Michael, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful. Everyone speak up if you need me to adjust anything. But Michael, I will just say that if you go on our website and look in the home page, upper right-hand corner, you'll find a link to the Philippine Abuse Database. Look at the priest called Mejorada, Apolinaro Mejorada, Mejorada. He abused Michael when you were how old, Michael?
17, barely out of high school.
1999. And Michael went public in 2002. But
yes, that's correct.
Let me let you tell your own story, Michael. We are really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for having me here. I filed my case against this priest more than 23 years ago. I filed it on my own without the support of my family, my community, or anybody else. Now, 23 years after, I am now a lawyer. I am involved in the same advocacy, and so little has changed. The same kinds of pressure, the same kinds of difficulty are being given to victims and complainants. The same kind of pressure from within the church. Secularism is still rampant. Secularism is still widespread. With the very best tool that the church used to intimidate, to threaten, and to silence the victims. That was what they did to me 23 years ago. And in my job now as a lawyer working on independent safeguarding within the church, I can still say that those same threats, pressures, intimidations are still present from within the church.
Thank you, Michael. Do you have any observations that you want to offer about Cardinal Tagle or any other bishops, or would you rather wait or pass for now?
Yeah, I'd rather give the chair now to Father Shea.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Stay on for questions.
And we will allow you to ask questions, of course. Let's hear from Father Shea, and then we'll... Father Shea, please introduce yourself and just unmute.
Father Shea, you're still on mute. There we go.
Thank you for having me at this press conference. I'm Father Shea Cullen, Irish Columban missionary. I'm in the Philippines since 1969, and we began our work of defending children, abused children, and they are, it's a double take. And the first big expose that we have done in the media is in Olongapo City, where many children were victims of sexual abuse. And since then, we began a center, a home, protecting children who are victims of sexual abuse from every area of society. At the moment, the clerical sexual abuse is very rampant, and as we heard earlier, there is really no, we're getting double sound here.
Put yours on mute. Yeah, put your thing on mute.
So the big problem in the Philippines with the clerical sexual abuse is total silence. We're handling 3 cases of at the moment, but we have about 34 ongoing cases of in court against the abusers, and we do succeed in getting convictions. Last year, we succeeded in 24 convictions of child sexual abusers. However, no priest or clergy have ever been convicted, as far as we know so far. And we are struggling now with 3 cases at the moment, and we hope to win a victory and bring them to accountability and bring them to justice and to answer for these crimes against children. Because there is really very little cooperation from the institutional church. They are really blocking a lot of the work in trying to save the victims, and engaged a lot in cover-up, in payoffs, in blocking legal procedures. Sad to say, this is so unchristian. And I'm always telling the bishops, you have to believe the words of Jesus of Nazareth. If you have faith and you're a Christian, and he said very clearly, if any one of you cause a child to lose faith in me, it's better you tie a millstone around his neck and he'll be thrown in the depth of the sea. So accountability for clerical sex abusers is a gospel message, and we really have to follow it. And we must say that our hopes for the future Pope would be, of course, that he would be even stronger than Pope Francis in demanding accountability by the bishops to stop the cover-up and actually to cleanse their diocese. They call these pedophiles their sons, and they protect them, and they help them, and they refuse to realize that these are heinous crimes against children. And destroying the whole church is destroying the priesthood and the laity and the lives of these children who are victims. And they should be first in everything, and that is our work at the Preda Foundation. And to learn more about this, preda.org, we do explain this rescue, protection, legal action on behalf of child victims. And we do hope that we would get a very strong Pope in the future. And I have spoken with Cardinal Tagle myself, face-to-face, in 2018 in Germany. We were at a conference, and I did ask him about the terrible abuse of children, and I asked Cardinal Tagle if he would be more outspoken and so on. But he said, well, he was so concerned with abortion and other issues at that time. And I was so shocked when on CNN, Stephen Sacker asked Cardinal Tagle if Father Shea Cullen is questioning your stand on child abuse. And he said, all clerical sexual abuse of children is a private and confidential matter for the church. So, that's not very encouraging. And we really would like to have a Pope who can fight for justice, stand with the children, and bring all of these pedophile priests to justice. That's our work and our campaign at the moment.
Thank you so much, Father Shea. Thank you, Michael. Now we'll let people ask questions, and thank you. Just stay on there if you would. And maybe, I guess, we should all mute. The person who's not talking should mute. And I'll remember to do that. Yeah, I'll just go around the room. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ruth Sherlock from NPR. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes.
I just had a question for Father Cullen.
You might have to, can you hear him, Father Shea?
I'm fairly okay.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and repeat it. That's okay.
Thank you so much. Yeah, my question was, so you met Tagle in 2013. In your work in the Philippines, right. Is there any further evidence that he was involved in these cover-ups? You mentioned the work that you've been doing. Is there any connection to him in these cover-ups?
Well, unfortunately, Cardinal Sin, and unfortunately Father Antonio Tagle, the Cardinal, was head of the Caritas. There was some big problems in the Caritas, the big charity arm, and that was closed down completely, and Cardinal Tagle was removed from his position. And I I think one of the reasons was because, unfortunately, as head of Caritas, a convicted pedophile priest, Father Luke Delf,
Yes.
was appointed as the head of Caritas in the Congo, Republic of the Congo. And it was exposed by the media, CNN, and he was removed then from that position as head of Caritas, who takes care of children and so on. So I mean to say, you know, I don't think Cardinal Tagle is really committed and dedicated to protecting the children. I mean, we need a fighter for the rights of the child.
I'm just going to add that our research didn't find any cases that directly implicated Cardinal Tagle, but keep in mind the information is so scant. A lot of our information was actually collected from about U.S. cases, Philippine priests who had been in the U.S. The Philippine press is just starting to take a more objective and hard-hitting look at the Catholic Church. But the Catholic Church has been on the side of the people in the Philippines. It's a complicated profile. Their own wounded, their own victims are in a terrible situation. But the Catholic Church is regarded by many as a trustworthy institution in the Philippines, but even by the press. So there is very little public information about abuse cases, including during Cardinal Tagle's time in Manila. You will look on our database, and there's 2 cases of religious order priests, I believe, who we could say he should have known about and should have removed, but these aren't clear-cut examples. You know, it would be a great litmus test for any pope before he becomes pope to have to say what his record was on abuse, because anyone who has knowingly failed to protect children should not be.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair. The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Sorry, I didn't know what that was. All right, I've stopped talking. Other questions?
Perhaps a follow-up to that one. Can we ask the same question to Michael, just to say, what evidence, Michael, do you have that links Tagle to these allegations of cover-up being made by this organisation today?
So, Michael, did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Thank you. I do not have any information on any attempts on his end to cover up these cases. This guy enjoys much credibility here in our local church. I named my first son Luis Antonio in honor of him. The thing is, what's very obvious is that despite all these cases of abuse happening, we haven't seen an effort, a proactive effort on his being a leader in the Archdiocese of Manila to solve this, to prevent this, to stop this. There really is no noticeable effort on their end. It may be true we might not have any information on cover-ups or any attempts to silence the victims, but what is more appalling is that there are no concrete efforts extended on those cases that have been publicized already. That's, for me, it's still the same as doing nothing. Doing nothing is still the same as covering up.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Michael. Any other questions? Yes, in the back.
Yes, hello, Paulina Bujic, SB News. I would like to ask, there were a lot of things done by Pope Francis during his papacy regarding tackling the sexual abuse crisis. There are many tasks left to do. And I would like to specifically ask about transparency. What real transparency means for you, and what are the tasks on the table for the next Pope regarding this task, to proceed?
The question is about transparency and what should the next Pope do in regards to transparency. 2 very simple things to start. Number 1, come clean about his own record, handling abuse. And number two, we know that the Vatican has found thousands of priests guilty under canon law of child sexual abuse. They stated as much in 2014. They gave a statistic of between 2,000 and 3,000 priests found guilty. Some of them had been removed permanently from ministry. If a priest has been found guilty under canon law, he has met a very high standard of proof. It is a system of justice that is very skewed towards the accused. It is designed to preserve the priesthood and rehabilitate offenders. So therefore, you can be sure that that is a guilty man. And these names should be released to the public. The Holy See does not have a right to keep information about child molesters private. That is information that belongs to the public. It belongs to those victims. And so those are two basic fundamental acts of transparency that the next pope should take. Thank you.
My question is there, I'm Barbara Nadeau from CNN, is there anyone in the College of Cardinals that you support, that you think could do a good job?
Yeah. We find this question difficult. The question is there anyone do you think could do the job? If I am being honest, Father Shea, did you want to take that? I do have an answer. Yeah.
Hi, to do the job of child protector as Pope, is that the question?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, well, I'm writing my weekly column for the Manila Times on Sunday, and I'm promoting Cardinal David, Cardinal Ambo David, Pablo David, who is a defender of human rights, and he has taken up the struggle against Duterte for the killing of children, and he has opposed all of these abuses. And after our summit in September, he made a statement to say that abusive priests should be charged in the civil courts. So I think he's very open to demanding accountability from abusive priests, and that they should be charged not only in the church courts, but in the civil. That is where justice will be done. And so it would be great if Pablo David was the Pope representing the Philippines. I think it's time to have a Philippine Pope who is a human rights defender and a protector of children.
I would say I would say that we need a Pope, somebody who has become accustomed to the two basic qualities we need in any Pope, which is a willingness to disclose the names of child molesters and a willingness to remove them permanently from ministry. The only category of bishops and cardinals who have been acculturated to those two minimal child safety steps are from the United States. I know that it is not likely, nor is it probably a good idea for many reasons for there to be an American Pope. But I'm just saying that literally nowhere else in the world have bishops accepted or been allowed to permanently remove abusers from ministry. This is what the survivor groups like Ending Clergy Abuse and SNAP mean when they say there's no zero tolerance in the Catholic Church. They mean that only in the United States is it a church law that a priest found guilty under canon law of child sexual abuse is removed permanently from public ministry. Everywhere else in the world, unless he's been given a lifetime of prayer and penance or been laicized, he qualifies for a second chance if the bishop feels he is no longer a cause for scandal and won't abuse kids again.
Of those American cardinals,
Yes.
is there one that you particularly prefer?
Oh my goodness. Let me just say as a preface, I'm not good at answering these questions. I think that change is going to continue to come from outside the church. No matter how nice a man becomes Pope, I don't believe the church is yet ready to change the page on child sexual abuse. I am pessimistic. However, I am going to say something kooky. Get ready. If I had to cast a vote, I would go with a cardinal in the United States who has absolutely no learning curve. In front of him on child sexual abuse, I would say let him just be an interim pope, and we'll put him to the task of cleaning up for 2 or 3 years, and then he should step down. And I would nominate my own archbishop, for better or worse, Cardinal Sean O'Malley from Boston. He is 80. He is too old to vote, or 81, I don't know. And I don't believe he's a hero on this front. But he's done a little bit more than everyone else, and he has no learning curve. He's completely up to speed on child protection failures on every continent. As president of the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, that's been a largely toothless organization, but I'm just saying he's perhaps the least bad of many bad options. Wait a minute, let me just keep going around. Go ahead.
Further to that, and I'm Alexandria Sage from AFP. You've singled out Tagle and Parolin, obviously in the top 3 of names that are
Sure.
the papabile, so that's obvious, but am I right in thinking we should not be assuming that you are saying that others on this list in the top good people have not similarly been dragging their feet, not being aggressive enough on this front? This is not an exclusive list today, is what I'm...
Right now, today, we're just looking at the 2 front runners. I haven't found anyone else on those lists, though, who I would feel great about becoming pope. I have pretty much concerns about all of them. Yeah. Yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to check Michael's age and also Father Shay's age.
Yes. You're being asked to give your ages, Father Shay and Michael.
I'm already 82 years old.
No way. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Michael, how about you?
I'm still 44.
Oh, yeah.
Half as young as Father Shay.
Michael, I just have a question, genuinely. How on earth did you find courage as basically a kid? What were you, like 20, 21 when you went public against the Catholic Church of the Philippines? I mean, how does anybody get the temerity to do that, and why has no one else done it in history?
Well, I was pushed to the edge. I had nowhere else to go. That's the thing. That's the dangerous thing with pushing somebody just like a dog. You have nothing else to lose except to bite back. Otherwise, I'll fall off the cliff. I did not get any support from my family, obviously, because my brother at that time was a seminarian at the very order where the perpetrator priest belongs. I did not get any support from my family, from the church. In fact, the local church, members of the local church were the very people who ostracized me, harassed me, threatened me. I find support on my friends, my fellow altar boys, because they knew they've been victimized also. And we had, I think I was lucky, I had like a circle of 10 altar boys who helped me that time. And I think this is how God wants to direct me. And eventually I became interested in pursuing legal studies, and now I'm a practicing lawyer here in Cebu City, Philippines.
Can we just ask, Michael, do you feel comfortable telling us a little bit more detail about your ordeal, what happened to you? Can you give us a rough storyline of what happened?
This is a serial predator. This priest is a serial predator. He preys upon young boys, especially the more vulnerable ones. I did not have a very nice teenage years. I'm not the cream of the crop. I've been jailed twice during that time. I grew up. I spent most of my days in the downtown area. I cut classes. Like in my 4th year alone, I only attended 25% of the class times. I spent most of my times in malls outside. These are the kinds, these wayward children, the kinds of prey that these predators prey upon. And then when you come out and you speak against them, your very character will be the ones that will be your undoing. They will attack you on the very things that you did. It's very difficult, really. And I think I was just lucky to have the support of my friends.
But what happened to you?
Yeah, this is a homosexual priest. He preys upon young boys. So he brings us to places, to movie houses, where he gropes us, he touches us. And I've heard from the other victims he had, we talked with them, some of them were really raped. In fact, you would believe it, just last week, I met somebody in my golf club. He was 10 years older than me. He grew up in a parish where this same priest was assigned 10 years earlier. And when he mentioned that name, he said he willingly narrated that a lot of his friends also were victimized by this priest. And then I told him to just Google that priest's name and you will see who outed him, who fought against him. And then later on he realized, like, oh, it's not just hundreds of young boys like us who were victimized. And then that's something that, that should not happen to anybody. And I think that the church of all the institutions should be the one preventing that from happening. What happened now is that it happened inside the church. Very scary. It's very alarming.
Spell the priest's name again, Michael, just so everyone can find him on our database.
Apolinario Mejorada, Majorada. He once belonged to the Augustinian order, the Order of St. Augustine.
And he stayed in ministry long after you went public. He continued to practice as a priest. Is he finally out of the priesthood now?
Yes. I filed my case in 2002. He continued his ministry and, in fact, handled parishes, got assigned to handle with children's groups, choirs, altar boys. I think 20 more years. If it wasn't for the documentary made by Al Jazeera sometime in 2015, and even after that documentary, it took more than 5 years before somebody from the Vatican called the Augustinians and told them, what have you done? What actions have you done to this case? And it was only then, I think 2 or 3 years ago, that this priest was defrocked and laicized.
Just a reminder, that's part of that time is when Tagle was the Cardinal in the Philippines. So he knew it was public knowledge, and he still wasn't removed yet.
Yes, that is correct. In fact, this Father Mejorada was assigned in the Archdiocese of Manila sometime in 2007, when I think it was already Bishop not yet Cardinal Chito Tagle, who was the head of the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Manila.
He didn't start
Father
until
Mejorada was assigned.
he didn't start till 2011 in Archdiocese of Manila. He was in IMUS before that.
In Cavite, which is just a province just south of Manila. But I think in 2011, Father Mejorada was still there, assigned in Makati, part of the Archdiocese of Manila.
Well, there you have it.
And he was assigned in a seminary with young boys, young seminarians there from the Augustinian order.
And the case was public already, correct? I mean, it had been in the newspapers thanks to you in 2002.
Yes, it had been as early as 2002.
Well, and as we all know, under canon law, the local archbishop has the ability to hire or fire any priest, even a religious order priest who's working in his jurisdiction. So I think it is fair to tag Cardinal Tagle with responsibility for not being proactive in getting rid of this priest earlier. Who knows how many children were additionally abused because of his negligence. Yes?
Just a question about Cardinal Parolin. Hans Zollner, you know who he is. He's the most expert on abuse cases. He's telling me that it's not absolutely true what you are saying about Parolin. This is my first question. What do you say about that? And then the second question, that you speak about letters about Parolin and McCarrick without saying that Pope Francis ordered an investigation of McCarrick that is public, saying all what happened. So I think it's important that to say that the Vatican did an investigation because of Pope Francis that never was done.
Yeah. No.
And to connect a letter that McCarrick sent to Parolin saying what was going on in China as Parolin, someone that covered up McCarrick, I think is something a little...
No, I didn't say he covered up McCarrick. I said questions were raised. No,
yes,
I stand by what I said. Yes. And as far as what the McCarrick report, I think that is an absolutely remarkable document. It is a rare instance of documents being quoted. It was a one and done. They did that because they were under excruciating public pressure worldwide. Let's not be grateful for small favors. They had to do something about McCarrick. It was the height of the Me Too movement, and there was global outrage about that case. And it implicated people all the way up to the popes. So that was brilliant.
Let's see, it was another pontificate that it wasn't.
So you say, and you're saying Pope Francis didn't know anything? Do you know that? I mean, all I'm saying is I do give them credit for the McCarrick report. I give Cardinal Parolin credit. I give Pope Francis credit. I wish we could see that for more abusers. Why is McCarrick the only one who was exposed to that? They have documents like that on every abuser. So let's not be grateful for small favors. I think that is a kind of soft complicity in itself. We should expect more of this institution.
No, what I wanted to say is that that investigation made clear that the big cover-up was when
Pope John Paul II.
Another Secretary of State was there,
yes.
Not Parolin. I'm not defending Parolin.
I am not saying Cardinal Parolin is responsible for McCarrick. I'm just saying that he was a Secretary of State when Cardinal McCarrick was traveling to China, and did he... Let Cardinal Parolin say, did he say something to Pope Francis? Did he say, why do we have this guy with all those allegations against him and this huge file on him? Why do we have him representing us? He has travel restrictions on him put by Pope Benedict. Why isn't he out of office? He could have said that.
And what about Zollner saying that is not true what you're saying?
I have tremendous respect for Hans Zollner. I just would need to understand what exactly he means by that. I don't have enough context. Yes, Pauline.
I have another question to Michael. Paulina Bujiga in the news. Michael, what would you, if the new Pope invites you to the Vatican, what would you say to him? What victims expect from the new pontiff?
Firstly, I attended the Safeguarding Conference in 2023. I went there as bravely as I can with my whole family there. On the first day of the conference, we had a mini group, and then they asked me what expectation I have of the conference. You see me now as bravely as I can facing you, but believe it or not, I broke down. I wasn't able to stop myself from crying because finally, after 20 plus years, we are being heard. I don't know about abuse cases in Australia, in New Zealand, in the US, in Ireland, and somewhere else. But as far as the Philippines is concerned, this is the only time, 2020s, that we are being heard. So I will tell the new Pope, whoever he is, please continue listening to us. If you could hear the voices of the victims in New Zealand, whose population, entire population of the country, Catholic population, is just as the same as the Catholic population of the Archdiocese of Cebu. one of the archdioceses, of the many archdioceses in the Philippines, they were able to see many more victims than the entire Philippines. There are voices here crying, asking for help. And I will ask the new Pope, hear us, listen to us. I think that would be the first step, the first right step of what this new Pope should do.
Yes.
Just to continue the question of my colleague of the AFP, you give two names today. That means you have no evidence of covering up or non-proactive attitude by other papabili.
Oh, no, it doesn't mean that. I was just focusing on the front runners today.
So
Yes.
why do you focus on those two once there are other front runners?
Yes, because we only have some, I mean, we are here for the next week. We will be doing more in the next week, yeah.
We'd rather cover them
In
more
depth.
completely and in depth
Yeah.
than just little.
How do you
Yes,
think
each
this
one.
could influence now? Because now the Cardinal is still reading newspaper, etc. Do you think this could influence? Well, of course you think this could influence because
Well,
if not, you would
Well,
not
we
this
can,
much,
we
right?
can, we can hope, yeah.
Okay.
I can't predict.
You know,
if it-
there's
in fact-
another thing that we're trying to do, which is we're trying to let the Catholic population of the world know what they're getting into. I think it's, so many people are focusing on their positive attitudes about different positions, but they don't focus on what isn't being done. And our job this week is to let them know, to be the voice of survivors and the voice for children in what needs to change.
By the way, it's so warm in here, and this is Dr. Ann Hagen-Webb. She's a psychologist who treats clergy abuse survivors and a survivor herself. I really encourage you to talk to her afterwards, and she has this really interesting speech to read about a very shocking document that is on the website of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines. I fear that we have, it's just uncomfortably warm in
Yes,
here.
and I-
But Ann can talk to you afterwards or and email her piece to all of you. Keep in mind that abuse guidelines are not posted on the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, but this pastoral exhortation that essentially talks about the culpability, the child is not unwilling in his own abuse, is one of the lines on it.
What?
Yes.
Yes, can I just say a few?
Yeah, please.
Let me just say a
Go
few
ahead, Ann.
things about it. As Ann said, I'm a survivor of priest abuse myself, and I'm a psychologist specializing in it. I'm on the board of Bishop Accountability. I'm sorry. I'm on the board of Bishop Accountability, and in the past I was the New England coordinator for SNAP, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. There are no guidelines published on the Philippines website of either the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines or the Archdiocese of Manila. But there is this document called the Pastoral Exhortation on the Pastoral Care and Protection of Minors. In it, it blames the family, it blames the children, and it encourages forgiveness of the priests. It actually says, and I can read you quotes, but I'll send this to you.
Well, read a couple of quotes, Ann, and now that we've gotten into
Okay.
it a little bit.
When it actually says that it's as bad, it hurts the victims and the perpetrators alike. And here's a quote. It most grievously hurts those whose trust was betrayed, but it also hurts those who are supposed to be trusted. Those who trust find their trust betrayed. Those who are supposed to be trusted no longer enjoy the unqualified confidence of those who once trusted them. And later on it urges forgiveness of the priests. It blames the families for not keeping a Christian household or instilling good moral values in the children. It says there's a hypocrisy that when parents of abused and exploited children readily judge others, though these may in fact be deserving of judgment, when they as parents have failed to do what the church teaches to be their obligation in respect to children.
And what about the part that I referenced about the child is not an unwilling
I'm
participant?
getting to that.
Okay.
It blames the child for bad habits and dangerous inclinations and bad friends. It actually accuses them of contributing to their abuse. And here's a quote. A victimized child is not necessarily one against whose will, a victimized child is not necessarily one against whose will atrocities have been visited. A victimized child is not necessarily the passive partner of an exploitative relationship. Children, therefore, can learn and acquire conduct that may contribute to their own exploitation.
Now, I want to be clear on this. This is a...
So can you repeat that part? Not necessarily what?
It says, children, therefore, can learn and acquire conduct that may contribute to their own exploitation. They literally blame the children for being abused.
This exhortation is not totally confined to clergy sex abuse. It's about all kinds of abuse, but then they talk about clergy sex abuse and talk about forgiving the priest who's an abuser. It is extraordinary. We studied the abuse crisis worldwide. I've never seen anything like it.
And
Which year was done this document?
2016.
2016, yeah.
And
and it's
wrote it? When the Cardinal Tagle
no,
was,
an
the
archbishop
Cardinal
wrote it. Do you have his name there?
He was the Archbishop of, hold on a second. The Archbishop, I don't have his name down because it didn't.
So
the way that it was,
wasn't there, no.
He was the Archbishop of Lingayen Dagapon, which is.
How do you pronounce that, Michael, or Shay? The Archbishop of what?
Lingayen Dagupan.
Lingayen.
And was this Villegas, the Solomon Villegas? Is that the Archbishop?
I didn't
okay.
Sorry, but Tagle wasn't Archbishop of Manila in 2016.
Yes, he was.
He was?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was.
He was from 2011 to 2019 or 20.
Well, we're talking about the document of the bishops. Does the bishops' conference put
But
on
it's
their
put.
website?
This is the only document on the Manila Philippines Bishops Conference website that has anything to do with
Can you send us the link,
guidelines
please?
for dealing
Yes,
with
and
abuse.
read the exact title so they can Google it, please.
The exact title is the Pastoral Exhortation on the Pastoral Care and Protection of Minors.
And it starts with a quote from Matthew, if you do it to children, you do it to me, something like that.
You'll have that on your press release when you issue that.
I don't, but I'll send it immediately. I'll send it right when I'm here.
Just the name of the link again, the website.
It's the CBCP, Catholic Bishops Conference of the Philippines, and it might be CBCP Net. I could probably find it right now, but.
But he never announced a disclaimer of that pastoral exhortation, never punished any bishops, and never reported any abusers to the authorities voluntarily.
Apparently, just for my colleagues, it comes up as a document posted by the Knights of Columbus. It's there. When you type the title and then put the Philippines and the CBC, whatever you said just now,
Yes.
it comes up first. So it's easy.
Thank you, Paulina. I also want to point out two other survivors and activists from Ending Clergy Abuse, and they're here if you want it.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
And it's good to see you again, Michael and Father Sinead. My name is Gemma Hickey.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you go and sit there because you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yes, it
Thank
is.
you. Thank you.
And we're not we're basically done. I just wanted to introduce them so that you can talk to them if you'd like.
I won't take long.
And Gemma was in the Philippines too. Eka held an amazing summit.
I'll tell you now. So my name is Gemma Hickey, Gemma. I'm a transgender survivor of clergy abuse from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. My pronouns are they, them. I was abused as a girl, and my abuser, a priest, would I think identify as heterosexual, targeted myself and other girls. I spoke out when I was younger and was forced to settle out of court. Later came forward again. I'm the president of Ending Clergy Abuse. We actually sponsored the event in the Philippines, and we're a big supporter of bishop accountability, doing great work, and in fact, they partnered with us on that initiative. In Canada, case in point, we have many examples of the recycling of predators. One example is Brother Edward English, who was at Mount Cashel Orphanage in St. John's. He served jail time and was then put in a Catholic school in British Columbia, Canada, and is now again facing allegations. There's lawsuits, these types of things. That's one example. Another example is a priest that was moved from India to Manitoba on a reservation, who is now up on charges for abusing Indigenous children. And of course, we have so many examples of that. And my colleague Evelyn Korkmaz, who's a survivor of St. Anne's Residential School, we're happy to chat with you after. ECA sent an open letter to the College of Cardinals. We're waiting on a response. I can send that along. And we are holding a media availability at 11 o'clock on Monday, this coming Monday. And we will be sending out a media advisory about that. We'd love to have you attend. The location is to be announced, but we're available for comment afterwards. And just thank you for your time. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you,
and
Jim.
thank you, Michael, for being so brave. Our focus in ECHA will be now in the developing world, where people are targeted, and there's so much abuse and secrecy. And so, we want the next pope. We want more. Survivors deserve more than just symbolic gestures. We want concrete actions. Concrete actions. So thank you, everybody, and thank you again, Anne.
Thank you, Gemma. Any more questions for Michael or Father Shea or Anne or me? Yeah? Guys? Yes.
I'm sorry,
Oh, that's okay.
One last question, I guess, to yourselves. If you had to kind of give us a sense of it, what portion do you think of the cardinals who'll be voting in this conclave have been implicated in some way or covered up or involved in the cover-up of sex
My
abuse?
goodness.
100%.
It's not that I don't have an answer. It's that I like to be data-based, and we have not studied the records of every single cardinal in the conclave. So I will take a pass. Let me just tell you, more and more I'm seeing bishops act in extraordinary ways. And in the United States, there's a bishop in Wyoming who sought out victims of his predecessor. The case was dead. There was no outward scrutiny. He just said, you know what, I don't like the fact that that Bishop Hart has never been punished. I know you were abused. Well, it turns out Bishop Hart had 18 victims. And the actions of this Bishop Stephen Biegler, single-handedly revived that case. The police looked into it again. He demanded, the bishop did, the bishop demanded that the Vatican look into it again. They found, they let Bishop Hart off the hook completely, and Bishop Biegler was outraged, and he published a statement saying, we stand by the victims, we believe them. I don't know anything else about Bishop Beegler's record, but there's like an archbishop in the U.S. who said to his predecessor, who was an abuser, this is in the Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis, you're not allowed here anymore. He didn't have to say that. What I'm saying is we are seeing more and more examples of courage that give us hope. And that is what we're looking for in the next pope. Have any of them called out an abuser, went and stood by a victim when the cameras weren't on him, or got rid of a priest, or got rid of a brother bishop, called him out. If they have those stories, I hope they will proudly tell them, because we would applaud. And you guys have been incredibly patient. I had no idea this room would be so ill-suited to this. But Michael and Father Shea, I cannot thank you enough. It's getting late there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all, too.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
If there's anybody that I didn't get your email address that you'd like.
Thank you so much.
Yes, let's just send you.
Yes, I can. And Tom, you're on my list. Okay. Yeah. I'll sit here. Okay. Hi.
Hi, I'm Bruno from the French Public Radio. Can I be headed on the list for the
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you. Sure, sure.
And make a short one to...
Thank you. Yeah, where are you from again? Oh, of course. Limassol, yeah.
And
No, thank you.
This is your number?
That is my number.
Mobile one?
Yes.
Okay, so I can
And
join...
WhatsApp.
And WhatsApp, okay. An email, I guess.
Be careful, don't trip.
Good luck.
Thank you, Stefano. I will see you. Hi, Barbie. How are you? Just a question on. Sure.